Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Chuck. How are you?
Awesome. Excuse me. I should say, I got to get in the habit. Good morning, Realtor Avery.
Good morning, Aranda Chuck.
I love it. Welcome to the show. We're so excited. We got a special guest today. That's exciting.
Yes, we have a special guest. But before we get too far in, I just want to wear my Bills jersey for a plug for our Children's Free Care event, which is Sunday at Frankie Primo's North in North Tonawanda, 12 to 5. Fun day. It'll be very exciting. And it's funny because I am practicing for the event on Sunday because everybody knows I love Diggs and now he's not on the same team. And tonight I am going to a soccer game. I have 2 nephews. They play for 2 different schools and they are playing each other in soccer tonight. So I'm practicing cheering for one person on one team and one person on another team and being happy with the outcome. And it's going to be especially easy on Sunday because Sunday, the outcome is helping kids. So no matter what happens, we're going to have a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun and we're going to be doing some good work. So that's my plug for Sunday.
You know what's so fun about that party though? I think it's just like, and I was thinking about sports and why do we even have team sports? Like, why is it so important for a city? Because it like gets us all on the same page, right? It gives us all something that brings us together. And that's such a fun party where you're together with a few hundred of some of your favorite realtor friends in this case, and invite anybody. Invite some of your clients. Your clients want to, believe it or not, they want to support the children, Oshai's Children's Hospital just as much or more than you do.
Yes.
And so give them an opportunity to have an amazing experience. It's really fantastic. I love that party.
It's awesome. It will be awesome. Okay. And the weather should be great. Indoor, outdoor. It's a great place if you've never had the opportunity. The support that we get from Frankie Primo's is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
If for some reason you can't make it Sunday, you should go to one of their restaurants, either downtown on Chippewa or Frankie Primo's North, and thank them for all that they do to support our program. It's really incredible. So,
agreed. Absolutely.
Right. So now let's get down to the real purpose of our show today, which is our incredible guest, Ken Wojnowski, president of First Priority Mortgage.
Oh, wait. We got to do something here. Wait. Ken, same again. Introduce Ken again. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that. Do it again.
All right. President of First Priority Mortgage, Ken Wojnowski.
All right. What happened? I did the claps. I didn't hear my clapping.
I hear the clapping.
Oh, you did? I didn't hear it.
I think it's a standing ovation. I think the crowds are standing and cheering because, I always like to call, okay, Chuck. This one Ken needs to go, oh, okay, that's enough.
Wow, that was a lot of clapping, Chuck. Thank you.
I couldn't hear any of it. That's bananas. Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
All right.
Well, we heard all of it. And I like one of the things, your team, their loan officers, their mortgage consultants, their finance guys, their whatever. When I came to Howard Hanna, you know what they used to call, or they probably still do call them in many of the offices? The money man. Hey, go talk to the money man. Well, okay. I feel like with what you've got going on right now, you really are the money man And I love that, like in my office, they hear on the show about Sean all the time. I ask him questions, not necessarily about mortgages, but finance. Like I always ask him, well, Eden, what's happening in the wonderful world of finance? What's
Yeah.
happening? So
Okay.
you truly are a money man. Now we got the biggest money man.
Or the money woman, not for
Or the
Ken,
money woman,
but,
money
you know, we got
human.
tons of loan officers.
Money
I'd like to
human.
call myself the conduit to the money. So, because then people are starting to come to my office thinking that we
I don't-
store it here. There is no money on premises. But yeah, we so appreciate the support and working with the Hannah agents. It's just been fantastic. We've had a absolutely incredible year. We're super excited about what's happening in the marketplace, albeit slowly improving inventory and things like that. But I think we're poised for an unbelievable fourth quarter, and 2025 is really shaping up to just be, I don't say normal anymore, but just be a fantastic market. There's so many opportunities. There's so many things to overcome, but there are so many good things that we can offer people, whether they're a first-time home buyer, whether they're a move-up home buyer, and the wealth that people have created by what you all do on a daily basis and selling real estate to them is so significant in someone's life. And I think
Ken, let me ask you something. I feel like we went through a period recently, like, we all have short memories. Okay. We can't, if it's too far back, forget it. But recently, interest rates were, I remember they were a lot lower.
Mhm.
Right. And now people look and go, oh my gosh, the rates are so high but they're really not.
Mhm.
But in recent memory, they feel that way. So what's going, like, what do we have? What's this? Where are we with that with First Priority, and what has First Priority done to try to make that a better situation for our buyers?
Sure. I think, when people talk about interest rates, I think it's all relative.
Sure.
You get the people that, my first house was X,
Yeah.
percent, and we made it through. I think you'll have to look at payment. And when we say rates
Okay.
have gone up, so has people's wages.
Okay.
People make more money than they did 6 years ago. So if you ask somebody that was in a position 6 years ago, 5 years ago, has your income increased? Does it always fall in line exactly where payments and mortgage rates are? No, but you have to look at it on a relative basis. What is rent? Rent has just skyrocketed. So I wouldn't talk about interest rates as much as I'd be concerned about rent if I was renting. But
Okay.
I think that leads into like the product that the Hannah family has created that kind of was announced at HannahCon that,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to come out with this. And then we said, okay, we got to figure out how to come out with this, which was great. And we started it, I think, in mid-July, the buy and borrow bundle, where we're promoting the helping of an agent provide value, having the buyer agency agreement signed, having
Sure.
the wonderful green sheet filled out, and then we contact the people to really get them qualified. They may already be pre-qualified, but we want to look at their total package. We want to forensically look at not just, well, here's the rate, here's your payment, call me if you're interested. That's not what we're about. And just like Lisa led in with, how our mortgage consultants, we want to be all things mortgage to really help people understand, what they're getting into. There's so much nowadays where people, I just want to click, I just want to e-sign. There is a lot that still needs to be explained. There is a lot that still needs to
Right.
be diagnosed,
It sounds to me like you're kind of talking about maybe, there might be a difference, right?
Totally.
This is a slide. We've got Fed rate, mortgage rate. That's for a different conversation, those kind of apples and oranges. But I think the apples and oranges conversation, is applicable in different scenarios. And the one you're talking about, I think, is, how you want to talk to the people and making sure if they are comparing lenders that they're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. Does that sound accurate?
It's totally accurate. And I've said this, and people get tired of the things that I always repeat all the time, but a mortgage is like a snowflake. There's no two that are the same. And everyone's personal situation is different. People love to go to a cocktail party and say, my mortgage rate is this. And then I say, well, what's your cholesterol and what's your blood pressure? Oh, I have no idea. We should probably be paying attention to all of those with the same reverence. But having a good mortgage rate in front of people is a badge of honor. but also being strategic about it, because this is one of the only, someone's going to say, no, Ken, you're wrong, but it's probably one of the only financial instruments that you can adjust and change it. You can't take your 401k and say, okay, I want to sell it and get those stock prices what they were 6 years ago. You can't do that. So
Yeah.
we're talking about a refinance and setting whenever you want to pick that rate that's lower. It's really it's a wonderful vehicle to build wealth, and so many people have built wealth through their owner-occupied home, through purchases of other property. It's really significant. So what you all do, what we do, it makes a huge difference in people's lives.
That's a great, you know what? A little side note. That's a great thing about being a realtor. Like you just said it. You guys make such an impact in people's lives. We, Lisa and I talk about this a lot, and most of our audience is mostly other Howard Hanna realtors. However, if you're watching the show and you're not a Howard Hanna realtor, thank you for being part of our audience. And if you've ever thought about what it might be like to have a career in real estate, to be a Hanna realtor, this is something that us as a company, we're really focusing on, I think, in the fourth quarter to lead us into 2025, helping people realize those opportunities to take a new career path and realize the kind of benefits that they can have in people's lives as a realtor. So I wanted to give a plug on this in the beginning, but I don't always you'll figure this out. We don't always follow the path on the show. We're ready to pivot. Talk to me, talk to Lisa, talk to any Howard Hanna manager about a career in real estate. And we can help you maybe put a plan forward for 2025. It's unbelievably rewarding being involved in people's lives at this stage in their life. It's incredible. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I agree, of course. And I think that, it goes to what Ken does as far as giving people financial advice, right? Like, sometimes we've even had, it's funny because, again, talking to people who are looking to buy a house, and we mentioned the bundle sheet, the green sheet, and there's that little checkbox. Are you interested in finding out more? Do you want to talk to someone about it? And you might have someone who says, well, no, I'm going to pay cash for this house. I don't even need a mortgage. I'm going to pay cash. Their financial advisor may not agree. Their financial advisor may say, hey, have you thought about this? Right. And that's where, Ken and his team, they may say, let's sit down, let's have a conversation, because is paying cash for this house and leaving money in a low return savings account the best way to use your money? So that consultation, and that's what I like too, Ken. It can be as long or as short as you want. Like if you get that green sheet, and now my MC, she's going to give a call, and that conversation can be a 2-minute. Hey, thanks, I'm all set. It can be a 5-minute. Hey, I'm curious. Let's set a time to talk more when I have time. And if I understand correctly, those conversations can be on the phone, they can be over a video call, they can be in person, and it's going to depend on what the client wants. Is that true, Ken?
Yes, it's so true that we want to make sure that, we're just, what are your goals? What's important to you? And a lot of people, they don't realize, if I see someone that has a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old, and I'm like, how are you going to pay for college and the wealth that we can build? And I have done refinances for people like 3 and 4 times where they put all their kids through college. They used it as a vehicle, because we're not just transaction based. We want to help people really understand, like, you always see the thing, what's the net worth of renters and the net worth of home buyers? And it's just significantly different. And you're constantly paying down on your principal. And people are like, wow, but I overpay. I get it. That's going to happen. You're also, when you sell, you don't get anything till you sell. So you haven't lost, people always say, well, I'm down. I lost. No, you didn't sell. So you didn't lose. But the gains that we're seeing, and I just take so much, so much pride in, you're able to have a swing set in your backyard. You couldn't do that when you were renting. You're able to, you've got a bigger, place where you put in an in-ground pool, the memories that you're creating. So let's not think so much about, someone is an eighth different or $10 different. Focus on the outcome, not the process, because the process is the process. It's like, I had knee surgery, and, they put a black X on my leg. They were doing the surgery, and I'm like, what are you doing that for? Well, they got to make sure they're doing the right leg, so you go through the process, but then after it was bothering me and going through the rehab, I feel great. So you hear about, well, I had this one, I had that surgery, I talked to this doctor. You can belabor the point of almost everything in your life, but when you get to really get it down to our consultation, we want them to have a great experience. We want people to say, oh my gosh, I bought a house and I heard all the nightmares. The communication was great. The agent was fantastic. The attorney was great. Everything worked out great. And then you could have the same exact transaction with poor service and poor communications. And they're like, oh, it was terrible. We don't want it. Our experience.com, we use this rating system. We are so close to 4.9% out of 5. And our goal is to be at 4.9. And we work on that on a daily basis. I have everybody in our everybody in our sales team, everybody in our operations team, we want to get better scores. We're telling people, please grade us high. Any questions, please call me. And it's been working, so we're establishing this culture of make sure that you have a great transaction. And not every deal's, go back to the snowflake. There is that person that did buy the car a week before they're going to close. And, they might have lost their job, or, I thought I was at overtime and I'm not, and I don't actually have 40 hours. We're constantly piecing through and working through how do we make it best for everybody? So we have such a great team, and we look to expand that. And the synergy with the real estate company has been fantastic.
So yeah. Oh, right. No, for sure. I was thinking about the tool. Nobody wants a hole in the wall. Nobody wants a drill. What you want is a hole in the wall. And you mentioned a swing set. Honestly, I don't even want a swing set in my backyard. But what I want to see kids laughing. I want to see fun. I want to see, right? Yes. That's what I want. But in order to get that, I have to have the swing set. And if I step back a step, well, they have the swing set. I can't have this. I got to have that. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and
absolutely.
Maybe in the interim, who knows, you want to maybe find a place that is near a place that has a swing set already, because, you're not going to be able to have the swing set right away, but maybe the bundle will help you achieve that. Ooh, that'd be a good use. Did I just segue into the bundle? Like a little ninja style?
Yeah. What are you using your money for? A swing set? So when we had Kevin Horan on. It's right around the time that we were rolling out the bundle. And so it was kind of like, hey, this is exciting. This is what it is. And this is how it's going to go. And he was great to talk about that. And now we're a couple months in. So now, we're curious, what are people, what's the reaction? Because you see that side, right? You see the clients who say, okay, I just got 0.5% of my mortgage amount. That is a credit, right? So what are they using it on? What are they spending their bundle money on?
Sure. I would say the majority of the people, closing costs are not a small ticket. You know what I mean? So if you're at $5,000 or $6,000, so most of the people are just, I would say the vast majority, and I could do numbers and things like that. Some are using it to pay down to get a lower rate. Maybe they can get an eighth lower if they had the 0.5 point applied to that. And some, in certain instances, back to the snowflake, could be using it to offset the commission. Or, if the buyer's agent only got 2.5 and they had to charge the person 0.5 to equal 3. And I don't want to go into,
Yeah, we would say X and X plus Y equals.
Yes.
We don't.
Yeah. So then it's like, well, you're getting 0.5, you're saving 0.5.
You're saving N over X divided by the sub factor to the nth power.
All right, Chuck.
I don't know how we calculate these things, but somehow it works out.
All right, we want that experience when you find out someone says, hey, we're buying a swing set with the money. That's what we want to hear about, right? Because it was okay, we needed X amount of dollars, and then you're just giving us some.
Right, this is a discount off your closing costs. So your closing costs is the check you have to bring to closing to become the official owner and get title to the property. Now you get to bring X amount minus, you get to bring less money, right? So the money's still in your bank and you can do whatever the heck you want with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's
awesome.
tangible. It's tangible and it's significant.
Right.
People are like, well, it's only going to be. No, it's not. It's a significant savings.
You know what I got to say? I think one of the things we talk about 0.5%, right? Because it scales. All the way out. If you were financing a house for $2 million and you were financing $2 million, you're going to save 10 grand, right? So that's 0.5%. But I think it would be a lot more impactful if in conversation we actually used like the dollar amount.
Sure.
To say, hey, would you like to have $1,500 off your closing costs? That's more impactful than saying, would you like to have 0.5% off your blah, blah, blah.
Right. Right.
I do this when I'm talking about home prices and what they sold for with buyers and sellers. We look at, there's a lot of data, but I always convert it into a number off of a percent.
Yeah, I mean, visuals, actual, numbers tell a story. We always say that. We've always said that. So
and
sure.
that's easy enough for you to do, Ken, because even before the show, you were telling us, what is the average mortgage amount in Buffalo, Rochester?
You're talking 220 to 240, depending on the region.
Okay.
So it's pretty significant. But we've also had we've had more higher loan amounts within the last 12 months due to the fact of increasing in values and things like that. But we've done $600,000, $800,000 loans here that you get a significant savings. So.
And that's it's interesting because you have so many things, services, tools, products, whatever you call those things are that help people. I was just informed, and it was like I had to close my jaw because we can't forget about Cash Advantage, right? Cash Advantage is still an amazing product. And even though we're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about it right now, the fact that you did a Cash Advantage for $800,000 a couple weeks ago is amazing. And that helped the person get a house. I mean, I was like, how much? $800,000. That's huge.
And that's like, and if something had if something had happened and we had to, okay, guess what? Something didn't happen. It's going to close. But first priority is saying, hey, if something happens, we're guaranteeing this. We're ready to write that check and buy that house. You might have a nice big house.
Talk about the strength of the company.
It's me. Yeah. I'm going to ask for it.
And that's like vetting those very, very well. I mean, Christine Knopnickel is just, we have total faith and trust in her ability to vet those situations and make sure that, we look at all the risk factors involved. And it could be significant, but I think in the last year and a half, the amount of products that we've added, the amount of solutions that we've added for the real estate community has been significant. And we probably have done, hundreds of millions of dollars of mortgage loans in products that we didn't have 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So that's it, and everybody like, boy, if we had this product, I always say, we're one product away from being successful sometimes to the originators, but the products that we do have and the ability to look down the spectrum of solutions is probably the best that we've seen in many, many years. And we need it for this marketplace. We need it for the continuation of growth, the continuation of helping. The bottom line is we want everyone to get their loan closed, and have your homes closed. And if it's with another bank and we can help explain something, whatever we can do to help your agents close.
Speaking of explaining something, Ken, I brought this on the stage earlier, but I wanted to bring it back, and I wanted to have a teaching moment. I wanted, you're an expert in this stuff. I'm so glad you're on our team. I know you understand this at a super doctoral level. I'm, in preschool. Tell me the difference here. What's going on? People say, well, the rate I got this great rate. How should we be looking at rates? And especially when there's news coming out, hey, because they all that's right. The news just wants you to click on their article. They want to, and in order to get that, they like to talk about, they might drop the rate. The Fed might drop the rate. So how does that impact our business, and how does it affect the rates for mortgages?
So I was, over the last several weeks, I kept dropping information to the mortgage consultants and trying to keep it as simple as possible, because I could send charts and be technical and people like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I just wanted people to understand, and I'll try to make this as simple as possible. These cycles of rates rising and rates declining have always been in a free trading economy. Okay. They call it peaks and troughs. The trough is the bottom and the peak is up. So what happens is the Federal Open Market Committee is a totally independent unit of the government. Like the president cannot say you need to do this. Well, they can.
Right.
Well,
No, it's true. It's very true.
technically. So what the Federal Open Market Committee wants to make sure is that we don't have high inflation. High inflation really just undercuts everything in the economy. Things cost more. Okay. I talk about this all the time. I don't know what it is with chickens, but why are eggs still $4, a dozen, but think about it and just piece that back, because you've got to pay a higher gas price to transfer that. So what does that mean? It means when rates are high, things get inflated and prices get inflated. You go to the store and you're like, are you kidding me? That bread that Tom Brady eats that has no carbs, it's like $10 a loaf. And I'm like, I'll eat carbs, so we look at different things, and really what the Fed wants to do is not to have that high inflation. They talk about a target of 2%, and various Fed chairmen from Volcker all the way back to Alan Greenspan, they had different targets, but this Fed is kind of saying, okay, we want a 2% inflation target. So they had rates at a high level because of the fact we came out of COVID, we pumped trillions of dollars into the market. Inflation is really too much money going after too few goods. We had shortages. We couldn't get supplies off cargo ships. So and then wages. People didn't want to work. We had to raise wages. Go to a restaurant now. I had a sea bass at a really nice restaurant in East Aurora, but I don't think it was $58 worth of sea bass. You know what I mean? So I was like, it was a wonderful family dinner, but I'm like, man, that was, so it hits us everywhere. So now what the Fed is doing is like, okay, we're seeing signs of all of this coming down. So now what we want to do is lower rates so that the market doesn't get stagnated and stall. So what they can do is controlling that by reducing the federal funds rate or the discount rate. The federal funds rate does not directly change a mortgage rate, okay? The long-term effect of them being in a decreasing interest rate environment will in the long term see things decrease, okay? Mortgage.
Is this the rate that banks use between each other to borrow money between banks?
Absolutely. That's all the Fed funds rate is. But now think about that.
Okay.
So what do we care that they're borrowing? Well, when borrowing costs for the banks go down, then they can lend out money at a less interest rate. One of the biggest things that adjusted over the past 2 weeks that not a lot of people are talking about is the prime rate. Now, there's another rate. When you say the rate, there's so many. It's not just the mortgage rate. The mortgage rate is based on trading of mortgage-backed securities. You can use the 10-year treasury as an index to have a good gauge. But the prime rate went from 8.5% to 8%. Everybody that has a HELOC and you're paying interest only, your payments just significantly are going to go down. As the Fed starts lowering rates even more, those things will start to fall in line. Now, the mortgage market, in April, the 10-year treasury bill, and you don't have to research 10-year treasury, just remember this number. It was 4.7%. Prior to the rate cut, it was at 3.7%. Okay? We call that 100 basis points. It's down 100. People are like, why do you call it basis points? Some economists invented that word, and we keep using it. So it's down 100 basis points. Our mortgage rates have come down in some cases 1 to 1.25% before the Fed cut the rate. So what that means was the market will always trade in anticipation of where they think the Fed is going. And I always say it's the commentary more than what they're doing. So when they cut it by a half, people are like, ooh, maybe there's something wrong. It's not a quarter. And most people were predicting 0.75% drops in the Fed funds rate this year. Now a number comes out today that payroll data was stronger than expected. Interest rates are rising. You may see mortgage rates go up an eighth today. So to determine on a daily basis or next week the mortgage rates are going to go down, no one can really do that. And these are my opinions. These are not the opinions of Rich or Howard Hanna. So this is just what I see going on in the marketplace. So when you say the Fed fund rate, it's not the mortgage rate. In the long run, Yeah, even Dr. Lawrence Yun, who's the NAR economist, he said, oh, hopefully we'll be at 6%, maybe 5.5 next year. Okay, well, we're locking loans at 5.875. So it's all kind of relative. But to put your thumb on it, if you ask me, probably never going to see 3% again. World events have a big thing, have a big effect on this too. There'll be a flight to safety if things are exasperated in the world. But all in all, we're in probably a declining interest rate environment. It's not like they cut it by half. They're going to raise it by 1%. They try to systematically do that, but it's all good news that moving forward. So now the big question, I'm going to wait. Okay.
Time it. You got to time it, Ken. If you don't nail that timing to save yourself, what are you doing? Can't you time it?
No.
Oh, come on.
It's impossible. Here's the thing. We had somebody, this is a true story. Most of the stuff I say is true. That's a joke. or at least I got it on the internet. This is a true story. We had someone in a different state wanted to refinance, and he wanted what's the max amount of points I could pay to get to 5.5% on a 15-year term. And Duffy Hanna was telling me this, and I'm like, all right, I think of a lot of stuff, but this is pretty ingenious. So the originator's like, well, you'd have to pay 3.25 points to get 5.5. And the current 15-year was like 6.25, whatever, something like that. And the guy goes, okay, I want to do that. And the originator said, can I just ask you why? He goes, well, I want 5.5 on a 15-year term. It may happen next July, next August. I'm going to continue to pay my 7% mortgage, $2,000 a month, principal and interest for, if it happens in 10 months, I'm going to pay $20,000 in principal and interest. I'd rather pay $9,000 in points right now to guarantee that rate. And I'm like, you can really pick the rate that you want. But to time it, when rates come down, home values are probably going to be higher. Have home values ever gone back to that 1972 level?
Sorry.
Does
malfunction and mission control?
that really doesn't happen. So what you want to do, like, go back to where we started. It is relative. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're paying $2,500 in rent and you have to buy a house and your principal and interest is $2,600, you've won. You've won, because out of that $2,600, like, $400 a month might be toward your principal and interest. You're going to start building equity on your home. You get a tax savings because of taxes, insurance, whatever your accountant, can help you with. So the net savings is huge.
It's really hard though. Like we work with people, and people, we can't help but be like, follow our natural tendencies. I was working with a buyer back in my home market, who works for Merrill Lynch. And I go, everything he was saying to me about when we're going to do this and his behaviors and blah, blah, everything. I go, you're trying to time the market. And he goes, yeah, I could. I go, what do you tell your clients who are going to, open an investment account or what? Do you tell them it's a great idea to time the market? He goes, no, I don't tell them that. I go, but that's what you want me to do. He goes, yep. That's like, we can't help it.
Yeah.
So we have to protect them. They've got first priority to help them protect them from trying to fall into that rabbit hole.
There's too much information that people are bombarded with. The HGTV selling Orange County, it's not reality, so you have to do
shows.
Yeah, I know they're nice. I mean, those shows are great. You get to see some different houses and different styles and things, and then you even see, like, you wonder where is that level of income that you have to have for that. But I think we have too much information. We really have to just parse it back. Back in the 70s, before deregulation, and it might have been 74 or whatever, you went and got the 8.5% rate. You went to the Big E in Buffalo, New York, and you got agents would say, go get your 8.5% mortgage. That's what it was. There was no option.
Right.
I don't think people said, geez, I really want 8.25, because they had no option. And then deregulation came, and then mortgage bankers, and then everything, the secondary market and all that good stuff. became more options. But more options doesn't mean, try to reduce the chaos in your life and transaction. I tell this story all the time. I mean, how many people, when you need a car, I'm going to get this car, I'm going to the dealer, I am not spending a penny over $400 a month for a payment, and you're walking out with a $752 payment that you decided within 20 minutes, you got the floor mats, you got Sirius satellite, and you're trying to say, I did good. But you made a decision within that half an hour. Slow things down, map out your plan. It doesn't have to stay the same. Most people's incomes will increase depending on their career. We also have to look at people's careers. Sometimes it's like, hey, I'm an apprentice, or I got that. And, I always say, well, what's your future potential? Well, I think I should be at this level. You'll still be at this principal and interest payment level. So if people always stayed where they thought they'd be, they'd never move up. But why do people move up? Their situation got better. They want a different home. There's so much opportunity. I just think we need to slow it down, look at things realistically, look at things not so much as a commodity of, well, can you waive $10? It's not the $10. If I want to watch Tulsa King, I got to have Paramount, Peacock. People will do more streaming decisions in one day than I don't want to pay mortgage insurance, but you're paying Hulu. So we got to look at breaking it down to the simple, and there are so many opportunities, and we can help bridge that, and we can help explain that, and just put people at it's not like, oh, I went there and I'm paying lower than anybody else, but they'll have a better understanding of why they're in this product and why this worked out the best for them.
I think it comes down also, like talking about how things change, right? The market in 72 you talk about, and I think it was in 1986, I did have a summer job at the Big E in the mortgage department. But back in those days, and when I got into real estate, like you said, there was one thing. My mortgage support was my Texas Instruments BA2 calculator. Our association used to teach a class on using that calculator. And as agents, we pre-qualified people because there was one loan choice, right?
Right.
Now, my support is my mortgage partner. There is no way I can know what the best product is for my client. I can know my client. They could have been my childhood best friend. I don't know the best product because there are so many out there. And that's why the partnership between First Priority and Howard Hanna is huge. All I need to know now, I can throw my calculator away. All I need to know is one number, and that's Sean's number, and that's who talks to all of my people, because then he has the depth of knowledge to say, I think this is something that you should think about. Let's look at these scenarios for you specifically. When realtors who have been in the business for a long time say, oh, I still like to pre-qualify my people. I'm like, really? Like, there's no way you can.
It's hard
with today's world.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you can have an idea, but it really goes. If you look at a mortgage application, you have assets on this side and you have liabilities, and the liabilities all populate from, your credit report. And I will sometimes show the visual and say, how many professionals help you on the asset side? You have your financial planners, you have your 401k, you have an accountant. How many people help you on the credit side? Like, how many professionals? 2. Mortgage consultants and bankruptcy attorneys. And you don't want to talk to the bankruptcy attorney because you're not in a good spot. So there's so many people that will tell you how to invest money, but on the side of the debit side, I always look at, well, my payment is this. You have $12,000 on a MasterCard that's at 21%. That you do not deduct that. You have an auto loan. You bought a car last year. What's the rate you got your Ford F-150 at? Oh, I don't know. It's probably 6%, 7%. In a year, you're not going to remember your mortgage rate, but we're going to work on here's your payment, and understand where you're going to be. Now we're going to build wealth. We're going to have a campaign as a customer for life. We're going to contact you in 5 years. When you want to buy a second home, we're referring you back to the Hannah agent, and we're helping you throughout all of these things.
That's huge. It's again, that partnership, the understanding, the reliance we have on each other. And that's why, for a lot of us, that bundle sheet is a no-brainer, because
Mm-hmm.
we're talking to them anyway, right? They have already spoken. Strong agents are having the financing conversation before the first appointment, so that everybody feels comfortable that if I love this house, I will have the ability to buy this house. Nothing worse than saying I love the house and now I can't have it.
Yeah.
No one
I
likes
think,
to have that conversation.
and I think if I could lend one piece of advice to the audience, it's not they got to use us for their mortgage or we got to close their loan. It's that initial consultation is going to make the whole difference in the transaction. And if done right, and if goals are talked about, if discussion is made, you should never say which Social Security number, how much you want to borrow. It's like, what are your goals? How long do you want to be in this home? What is your thought process behind this? What is your experience with homes in the past? Where do you live right now? I always said, like, do you ever go buying furniture? You hate to do that, but I always tell my wife, like, they take the wrong approach. I would say, tell me about your family room right now. What do you have there now? How do you like that? You ask probing questions, and then people will fall right into, well, I have this, I have that. No different than a home, no different than a mortgage. I had this awful mortgage in the past. Well, let me share with you how we move forward, and let me share with you what is out there now. Things are different. Oh, we get those people all the time. I did this 7 years ago. I didn't need that. Oh, I know that. I would have to provide the same thing that I'm asking you to provide. It's just the way the market has changed, but you got to deliver it the right way. And if you don't deliver it the right way, that's the whole thing. You have to have the polish behind it and really have a sincere interest in helping people. And when you have that, you win every day. You're not going to get every deal, but you're going to win that. You're going to win that trust. You're going to win that relationship. And we're going to help make your transactions the best that we can possibly have.
Ken, you just blew my mind.
I'm sorry.
You just blew my mind, because you could apply that in almost any situation in life. Like,
absolutely.
Right now, if you were to say to me, Chuck, tell me about your garage at home right now. Tell me about it. And I might start describing and you might say, wow, it sounds like some sort of a wall-based organization system might be a good idea. Or it sounds like a block, like you're out there looking for a shirt, and you're like, Chuck, tell me about how the shirts hang in your closet right now. Are they a lot of white shirts, a lot of blue shirts, a lot of blah, blah, blahs? Maybe you need to think about a plaid. I don't know. Like, you could, honestly, that applies to no matter what. I love it. That's so awesome.
Yeah. Always in your life, judge people that are trying to sell you some stuff. My wife and I go home and we're like, okay, they failed here. They just were weak there. But if you ever want to, if you talk about clothing,
note to self, you guys can hire another.
When they hand you a suit coat, they want you to hold it and touch it, because then you take ownership of it. And then you're thinking, oh, I got to buy this. He put it on my arm. But that's what they do. It's like the puppy dog clothes. Well, why don't you hold the dog? Why don't you bring the dog home with you? Mm-hmm. Last story, and this is funny. Chuck told me to try to be a little bit funny. So when my kids were little, they wanted a dog. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love dogs. I love pets. Please don't. But I'm like, okay, you have to do the research. You have to so my oldest son presents me a presentation. He didn't know how to do a PowerPoint, but he goes, here's what we'll do. We'll walk it. We'll feed it. We'll take it. So we go look in the paper, and it was a golden retriever. And I said, okay, we are not buying the dog today. All we are doing is looking at the dog. Okay, Dad. And my wife's like, oh, sure. We pull up to this house, the white picket fence with flowers and these little golden retrievers bounding down the hill. And they're like, oh my God. We're writing the deposit. We're picking up the dog the next week. And it just, the presentation was there. If the presentation was different, or that we didn't, it wasn't, I think the house and the picket fence and the flowers and just the beauty of the dogs, it sold us. But going in, no, we're not doing this today. We're just looking. It just,
Yeah.
it's all in the presentation.
Sometimes you don't know the plan. You might think you know the plan, Ken, but you did not know the plan. The plan was withheld from you. Everyone else knew the plan. I promise you that. They knew. You did not know. So
yeah.
But,
well, and that's, I mean, it's funny too. Like we have the clients who, they've been working with our agent for 4 or 5 months. They've been working with our MCs and they're ready to go. Maybe they've made offers and they've been looking. Then you have the clients who they took a drive like Ken, and they, instead of seeing a puppy, they saw that house that they've always liked. And now there's a for sale sign in the front yard. It's like, honey, stop the car, because that's the house. And now you're like fast tracking. We need to find about a mortgage. We need to find this. We need to find that. And it's like, there's so many different ways that you make these life changes that are sometimes planned and sometimes like a spontaneous decision. And that's where, again, obviously we love first priority, and we know all the ways that you're superior, because you know what, if I drive by that house on Saturday at 4:00, I can call my MC or send a text message. If it was, Empire of America Realty Credit Corp, we weren't allowed to say Big E, that you're not calling them on a Saturday afternoon, right? You're waiting till Monday and you're like, oh gosh, I hope that house is still available. And I hope my mortgage person answers the phone and maybe I can buy it. You guys are our true partners, 24/7, right? Like, maybe you are busy, but we're going to text you and you're going to get right back and say, hey, all right, when can we chat? So
and with our technology, you can get things started online, so that even if it is Saturday at 7:00, hey, fill out all this information so that now I've got a little bit of a picture when I'm looking at things. So it's everything is in as much as it's changed, things are changing for the better. And I keep going back to just more solutions should not be a fearful thing. More solutions should be, okay, good. I was able to look at the menu of everything that was available to me, and I feel I'm making the best step. Do I look back and say, well, I shouldn't have got the dog? No. Do you look back and say I shouldn't have bought the house? No. You move forward because you became comforted by your decision once the decision was made. And then once you make that decision, you move forward and you just do the best you can. But in our business, you're moving forward by building wealth, and that is significant. So I think everybody can, take that away too, that you're not selling a house. We're not writing a mortgage. We had someone that bought a house for $150,000. They just sold it for $600,000. What other profession has come to them and said, hey, we just made $400,000 for you? And not that we take the credit, but if you didn't make that transaction, you wouldn't have it.
All right.
So
Ken,
true.
Sorry, I talked too much.
You just told me. No, listen, to follow up on that story, I think I just heard, the next story I want to hear is about the people that took the bundle discount and bought a dog. That's the story I want to hear. So we got to, agents out there, follow up, find out, what did they use that bundle money for? Did they buy a dog? I want to hear that story. That's going to be amazing. And that's going to be our final thought of the show. Thank you so much, Ken, for joining us today. This was super fun.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. Cheers, everybody.
Go Bills. See you.